What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Maple Leafs Media. As always, I'm your guy Jake, and today I'm joined by my good friend Matt. How are you doing today?
How's it going, Jake? Doing well, man. Leafs snap that three game and get back in the win column. So it's a good day.
Yeah, that was a much needed victory, a hard fought win, 3-1 victory over the Minnesota Wild. Really, a lot to dissect from this game. Great overall performance from the Toronto Maple Leafs as they emerge victorious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first period kind of started off kind of just they're feeling each other out a little bit. I mean, the teams as of late they haven't been kind of at the top of their game, so they've it was kind of a little bit of a defensive matchup there in the beginning, but opened up in the second, I think, and then obviously a pretty entertaining third period for sure.
Yeah, a great point. To open this game, both teams combined for just 11 shots in that first period, 6-5 in favor of the Minnesota Wild. Really seemed as if they were feeling each other out. Not much of a push offensively from either side there, but once they started to feel each other out, that second period really opened it up.
Yeah, two quick goals there. I think it was under 30 seconds after Gaudreau got the first goal there. That Matthews just comes in, classic toe drag and wrister right to the top shelf. So that was good to see him score a goal like that. I feel like it's been a little bit that we've seen kind of him come down off the rush, beat a guy, and just snipe one over the goalie's glove. So that was nice to see him kind of accomplish that, and obviously big news for him becoming the NHL leader in goals tonight with 36.
Yeah, I mean, massive news. Great news for Austin Matthews. That's now 36 goals on the season. He had two out there tonight, tied Leon Draisaitl with his first goal, and then surpassed him with the second one. And I just feel as if watching Austin Matthews on a nightly basis, being from around the Toronto area, I mean, we're just so lucky to be able to watch that product that he puts out there on the out there on the ice on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're really lucky to have such a generational talent on this roster. He's been a leader in goals since he's come into the league. I think only Ovechkin has more goals than him since he's been in the league. So he's obviously a dominant force there. But like it's just amazing to see how well he's kind of producing. As well as playing solid defense as well, like his stick lifts and his puck retrievals and stuff. Pretty evident on the second goal tonight, which is pretty fantastic to see. He's just, I mean, he could be in the conversation for Selke as well. We talked Rocket Richard, but he's a pretty solid two-way player for the Leafs.
Definitely, and I think you had a tweet about that. If you want to share
I
share
did.
that tweet on the screen. So Matt and I were young sports journalists just getting into the field, and Matt here posts some great content on Twitter. So if you want to give him a follow, he's gonna share the screen and uh, share his account for you.
Are you guys able to see it there?
Uh, no, it's not up yet.
Okay, let me see here. Share screen.
And Roger's comment here says, first line is carrying this team. And I mean, I think that's a safe thing to say. I mean, the first line really is the only line producing at this point in time. Second line has been lackluster at best as of late.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I think I'm having some technical difficulties here. I click share and it doesn't feel like sharing. Jake, I don't know if you want to bring it up on your end, possibly.
Yeah, I could do that for you. Just give me a minute to pull that up. But how do you feel
But
about
yeah,
the second line as of late?
oh, dangerous territory as of late. They look like we were just chatting a little bit before the show, me and you, and we were just saying like how they just look like they're kind of just dragging their feet out there. It doesn't really seem to be kind of coming to them easy, which it's been a little bit of a grind. Kind of just the ins and outs of the game, stuff like that. They haven't really generated a lot of either zone chances or been in the zone for considerable amounts of time, and that's hurting them for sure offensively in their statistics.
Yeah, it really is, and it's just so frustrating to watch when John Tavares and William Nylander. We know what they're capable of doing, but they're not producing at the level we expect. John Tavares is on a 12-game goalless streak, as your Twitter mentioned. I'm just trying to pull it up right now.
Yeah, he's on a cold streak, and that goal actually came against Detroit January 29th, and I think it was that empty netter that he floated right above Bertuzzi. So that wasn't I mean, it was an empty netter, right? So I mean, we're getting it's getting to be a long time here since we've seen a real John Tavares goal as of late, for sure, and it's definitely frustrating on his end. I believe anyway.
Yeah, it's got to be 12 games without a goal. Not something that you're used to seeing when it comes to John Tavares. Not at all. And
No,
that,
he's such a prolific goal scorer. So I think just getting back to the basics for him in terms of just getting himself in front of the net kind of thing, finding those opportunities. I think his shots have been down. They mentioned in the broadcast that his shots have been down as of late. So, I mean, getting into those dangerous areas is definitely going to kind of spark that offense again, hopefully.
yeah, and just to add on to that, not shooting very much. Uh, in the 4 games prior to the game against Columbus the other night, John Tavares only had 2 shots on goal. So that's not something you're used to seeing from him. But something we're used to seeing from you, Matt, is your Twitter analysis, and you can go ahead and read this.
Yeah, so basically, just kind of we touched on it a little bit in the beginning of the show. So kind of just a big stick lift coming out of Minnesota was obviously exiting their zone. I'm not sure the Minnesota player that it was that Matthews ended up stealing the puck, but just a exceptional stick lift from him, a puck retrieval. He waits for Bunting to get back on side, shoots it right over to Marner, and then kind of just gets himself in front, powers his way through the traffic, and then just taps it into an empty net for the league leading goal. So it was pretty impressive to see. I mean, I see along Twitter a lot of people talking Rocket Richard, but I mean, we could potentially put him in the Selkie conversation as well with how exceptional he's been defensively this year.
Yeah, definitely. He has upped his game defensively. It has been noticeable, and that's exactly what you want from a star player who is generational talent, especially when it comes to goal scoring. And if he can take his game to the next level defensively, which I feel he has this season, uh, really, what Austin Matthews can do and accomplish in this league is limitless.
Yeah, I think he was definitely he's definitely been building year after year in terms of his defensive play. So it's nice to see the maturity of Toronto superstar kind of getting into the fold there with his defensive play.
Definitely. There's an interesting question here from I don't think I'm gonna try to read the name. I'm sorry. Uh, I'll really mess that one up. But the question is Matthews playing Hart Trophy, Art Ross, and Rocket Richard level? Interesting question. How do you feel about this, Matt?
You know what? That's it's he's as compared he is to Connor McDavid, I don't think he's necessarily at that level to kind of sweep those types of trophies away. I mean, who knows? It's also a possibility as well. If he continues down the stretch, he goes on a game, he grabs a couple of hat tricks, he kind of jots up his assist count a little bit more. We could see him winning the Hart Trophy as well. So it might be a possibility for the Leaf Center, but only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Hart Trophy is a possibility. It's not likely when Connor McDavid's playing in the same league as you. That's kind of really hurts your chances. Leon Draisaitl's also been fantastic over in Edmonton. Alex Ovechkin, even in the conversation, in my opinion. I mean, right now, the Art Ross Trophy, I think that might be out of reach for Austin Matthews. Connor McDavid has 73 points at the moment. So does Leon Draisaitl. So I don't really see either of them slowing down unless an injury hinders their ability to put up points.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's going to be a little tough for him to kind of sweep those three. I definitely think Rocket Richard's definitely in his arsenal. Kind of hopefully hoping he goes back to back, obviously, considering his success last year. But yeah, like you said, in the same league as Connor McDavid and guys like Draisaitl who team up on so many goals, or necessarily score all of their goals, right? It's tough to kind of compete with that for sure. But Marner and Matthews are doing a fantastic job this year at being consistent. Um, Obviously, Leafs fans are just hoping that we see that come playoff time as well.
And you mentioned Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. I'm going to share one of my tweets here. So also, if you could, I'm going to give myself a little shout out on Twitter. So if you could check out my Twitter account at Varco Sports, I'd appreciate that. So Austin Matthews has now scored 235 career NHL goals. 70 of those goals have been assisted by Mitch Marner. That is 29.7% of Austin Matthews goals assisted by Marner. Just a fantastic chemistry between these two, and it just continues. They continue breaking up the points together. Close to 30% of Austin Matthews' goals assisted by Marner. That's amazing.
Look at you digging up the stats there.
Yeah, had to do a little bit of calculation for that one.
That's good
Um,
stuff. That's impressive. Impressive statistics. Almost 30%. That's crazy.
it really is.
They have some crazy chemistry together. So it's nice to see those the numbers adding up.
It really is. It's fantastic, and hopefully that translates to playoff success. That's something that is always mentioned in Leafs land. But an interesting question from Dylan. Kind of, it's not. It's kind of like a bold prediction if you want to do it. Dylan says, "I know this is Leafs channel, but who do you think is going to win the cup this year?"
I think me and you both have a pretty similar feel about this. I'm not sure if it's still the same though.
Well, I feel as if I have two teams in mind, and if I were to have to pick one, I think it's the Florida Panthers. I think the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. They're just they're rolling like in confidence and in their play and stuff like that. They've been the team to beat so far this year, and I think if they remain healthy, their stars continue to produce like Barkov and Huberdeau. I think they definitely have a big time chance. If the Leafs manage to get through, obviously, or depending on who they play in the first round, potentially it could be the Florida Panthers, but. Let's hope that they're successful in that foot. But yeah, Florida is definitely the kind of team to beat. Definitely in the East, maybe even in the league for sure.
If you were to pick a team from the West, who would that be?
I think when it comes to um, overall skill level and kind of that playoff type hockey combined, I definitely would put the Avalanche in that conversation. I know McKinnon's been banged up a little bit this year, and there were a few suspensions to Landeskog earlier in the year, or not, but they continue to be a force in this league. I think Kadri's season that he's been having as well on that second line for them is really helping that as well. So I definitely think that they're a true contender on the west side for sure.
Great minds think alike, Matt. I have the Colorado Avalanche from the West as well. I mean, this is a team that's been pushing in the conference finals, and they can't get to the Stanley Cup Finals. But I think it's about time that the Colorado Avalanche break through this season. A team that I also think that you should keep an eye out for. I know you said one team, but I think a team that's really hot right now, 10-game winning streak, is the Calgary Flames. I think it's time that we consider them one of the best teams in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they've been on a for sure hot streak there as of late. I mean, I think they haven't really earned kind of, I don't want to say respect, but I guess I'll use that word for now. But I mean, in terms of kind of their kind of stature in the league where they've stood in previous years in terms of their past playoff runs and having struggles and stuff like that. But definitely crediting them to the run they've been having as of late. They've been a solid team and they've been playing really good hockey. So that's definitely another team to keep an eye out for.
Absolutely. But back to tonight's game. We just got a little sidetracked there. Back to tonight's game. First star of the game, I think it's pretty obvious. It's number 34, Austin Matthews. 2 goals out there tonight, and he took the NHL's league in goal scoring.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that front for sure. Austin gets his 2 goals. He gets the lead in goals this year, passing Draisaitl. Draisaitl didn't play tonight, though. I think they're back in action tomorrow. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, definitely deserving of the first star. He played solid defensively, like we were chatting about before. And obviously, those 2 goals kind of led the way for the Leafs tonight.
Yeah, big time. And Austin Matthews, have you noticed that it seems as if Austin Matthews scores his goals in bunches? And it's not just Austin Matthews, it's a lot of the more prominent goal scorers around the NHL. Is that something that you've noticed?
I definitely noticed that as well. He tends to score in bunches. I would also say a fellow teammate of his, William Nylander, also tends to score in bunches. His woes lately have obviously not allowed for that. Or just got his 2 goals against, I believe it was St. Louis that he scored on. But yeah, I definitely think he's a lot more consistent. Obviously, comparing him to Nylander in that sense. But I have noticed that as well, that he tends to score in bunches, which is not a bad thing. It's definitely positive. If he can score a couple tomorrow night and one or two after that, that's definitely a positive for the Leafs to kind of keep his consistency. And when those big players are rolling, the rest of the team tends to follow. So it works out to be a win-win for the Toronto Maple Leafs organization.
Definitely. And as you can see on the screen, he has put up 21 points in his last 12 games. That's outstanding. I mean, Austin Matthews' numbers this season out of this world. Now at 36 goals. And the question I was thinking, I didn't tell you to prepare for this question or anything, so I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot right now. Through 50 games in the season, we know that Austin Matthews has missed a few. He's at 36 goals. Uh, Prior to the season start, I predicted that Austin Matthews could get to 60 goals this season. Do you think that's a possibility?
How many games are we at? He's played 48.
This
The Leafs have what, 20 or 32 to go?
this is their 50th game, so yeah, 32 to go.
32 to go. He's at 36. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say he gets to 60. If he, like we were just talking about, if he kind of goes on a run here, so starts to score in some bunches, that line is nonstop creating scoring chances. Michael Bunting doesn't get enough kind of um, I guess, kind of stature in terms of the way he's talked about on that line. But I think he's definitely been an asset. I think, in my personal opinion, he's been an upgrade to Hyman. So I think if that line continues their ways in terms of chances that they're creating, I definitely think that he could get to 60 for sure. I think Steven Stamkos, he was a little bit close to him in terms of the NHL All Star game as of late. I think there's a quote from him out there that definitely thinks it's possible. So if a guy that scored 60 before is saying that Austin Matthews can get to 60, I'm gonna ride the train with that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think it's a possibility, and it feels as if Austin Matthews is only getting better every single season. Last year, he hit the 50 goal mark. I think he can do 60 this season.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable for sure.
And I guess there's this question here. That's a big question, Frank Rusty Nails, and I don't have an answer for you. I'm not going to touch that question.
I almost want to jump on the bandwagon there and not answer it either, but you know what? I think it comes down to them finding somebody to play with 91 and 88 on the second line, to kind of get them over the hump in terms of playoff success. So I'm going to leave it off at that. I think if they do that before this trade deadline rolls in, I think they have a good chance. But I'm not going to say if they do or they don't.
Okay, so we're going to touch a little bit more on about the possibility of adding someone to the top six or maybe even the blue line. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show. But we're just going to continue with the second and third star of the game, get that out of the way, and then we'll carry on with that. Second star of the game, we've been looking from a solid performance like this from him for a little while now. Peter Mrazek, 29 saves on 30 shots. I thought he looked great out there.
Yeah, he gave them stability in net. There were a few chances that came across the goal front in the first 40 that easily could have made it a 2 or 3 nothing game for the Wild, but he kind of shut the door, held his ground, was good positionally. I noticed that he wasn't as squirmy, if you will, in his crease. So I noticed he was kind of standing his ground positionally wise. He was solid for the Leafs tonight. And the Leafs are going to need more of that from him moving forward. Definitely with Jack Campbell's recent struggles, I think they're going to have to ride Mrazek a little more than they thought they were going to. Maybe make up for obviously the missed time that he kind of had in the beginning of the season due to those back-to-back injuries. So I think he feels good. I think he looked good tonight for the Leafs, and I think that that definitely was a huge factor in terms of the Leafs grabbing a W tonight.
Yeah, and I think this was a big game for his confidence too. After getting torched by the Montreal Canadiens for 5 goals, consecutive goals to lead off the game, and not most of them weren't pretty. There, he was really out of position for that game, all over the place, and it was a mess. But he cleaned it up out there tonight, and I think this is a big confidence booster for him. Look for him to carry this on going forward
Yeah, definitely. I think he gets they're playing Saturday. Who are
against
they playing Saturday?
Detroit, his former
Detroit.
team.
He'll probably get the start Saturday too, considering his performance tonight. Obviously, Detroit former team kind of thing. So I think it'll be a good chance for him to kind of take the torch and run with it here for a little bit, anyways. Come the next back to back, Campbell's going to be in, but I think Campbell kind of needs to just take a step back a little bit now, kind of rejig himself in morning skates practice and whatnot, and kind of just let Mrazek ride the train for a little bit if he can kind of perform up to the Leaf standards for sure.
Yeah, I really feel that it's pivotal for the Maple Leafs to get Peter Mrazek going down this stretch of games heading into the playoffs. They've got 32 games to go. I think it's really important that they can get him and hopefully get Jack Campbell back somewhat up to a solid starting goaltender level. Like we don't need him to be what he was. We don't need him to put up the numbers that he was in November, but we'd just like to see Jack Campbell improve his game a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that'll be huge for the Leafs, especially. I mean, going into the playoffs, I think with the goaltending quality, like you touched on it right now, I think the goaltending quality that the Leafs do have, it's definitely. It was when Mrazek did sign, it was in turn of being a 1A, 1B system. So I think if they can kind of get back to that, obviously Campbell kind of ran with it at the beginning there due to Mrazek's injuries, and we don't want him to take that back, but we want him to get back to somewhat of that level, obviously, to kind of have some success moving forward. It takes, figuratively speaking, it takes 16 wins to win that Stanley Cup. So I don't think if the Leafs were to make a run, I don't think it's necessarily going to be either Mrazek or Campbell getting those 16 wins. I definitely think it's going to be a collective effort between the two, for sure.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it's going to be something with, like, remember what we saw with the Vegas Golden Knights when they made a push with Robin Leonard and Marc-Andre Fleury. That's something that the Maple Leafs would love to have, a dynamic similar to that.
I definitely agree. That's a good comparison actually that you bring up.
It's very important to have two solid goaltenders in this NHL. And our third star of the game, Frederick Goodrow from the Minnesota Wild. He scored the only goal for them tonight, and it was his sixth goal of the season.
Assisted by Matt Boldy. So I think we have an interesting set on him too, since he's kind of popped into the league here in his rookie year. He's been solid.
Yeah, so Matt Boldy in 18 games played in his rookie season, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points, and he is a massive fantasy asset at this moment. So if he's available in your league, you might want to scoop him up for a little stream, and he might make an impact for your team going into the fantasy playoffs even.
Yeah, I think just great composure he showed behind the net, kind of just to take away the goalie's eyes there, throw it right in front for Gaudreau to finish off. So it's true showed off some playmaking ability there for sure on that play.
Yeah, the Minnesota Wild have quite a few stars. Matthew Boldy, he comes to mind, but really the first one that comes to your mind, I think it's obviously Kirill Kaprizov in 102 games played in his young career, 50 goals, 63 assists for 113 points, averaging over a point per game in that time, and he's an absolute star. I was talking about fantasy with Matthew Boldy, but the funny thing about Kaprizov, someone in my fantasy league dropped him at the beginning of the season, and I scooped him up gladly.
I don't even want to know who dropped him.
Well, I changed my name to Who Dropped Kirill because of it.
That's good stuff, man. You always got to be on that waiver wire in terms of the fantasy leagues, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's hard to comprehend why anyone would drop a stud like Kaprizov.
I couldn't tell you, man. I wouldn't drop him, that's for sure. After the season he had last year, in terms of the just pure skill that this kid has, it's crazy to watch. He's I think in the first outing when Minnesota played Toronto this year, I think he made like 2 exceptional defensive plays to steal a puck from Matthews and get the winner or something along the winner. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, he's a factor when his team is winning, and I mean he's he had a good effort tonight in terms of trying to get his team back in the game with a few chances late and his playmaking ability. So I think he's a superstar in the present, and I mean, if you want to go within the making as well, he's obviously a little bit of an older player to win that Calder Trophy last year. A lot of controversy around the rule on that trophy, but we won't get into that. Yeah, he's definitely been a solid player coming over from Russia.
Yeah, he's 24 years of age right now, and definitely a bit older for a second-year player. But I mean, I guess it was worth the wait for the Minnesota Wild because he has been fantastic for them. And so the Minnesota Wild, I think they're a really solid team. Would you agree?
I would also agree. I think they're amongst the one of the highest scoring teams in the league, alongside the Leafs. There, I'm not sure exactly how they stack up, but they definitely kind of generate a lot of goals this year. I think they have a solid decor with Spurgeon there as their captain, and obviously Matt Dumba and Jonas Brodin. So I think they have a solid top four, and they have forwards like Fiala, Foligno, kind of gritty guys like that. I believe they have Jordan Greenway as well, and Eric Zanek as well. So some big, strong power forwards in their top six and even their middle six to be able to kind of compete in the playoffs, obviously for sure. So I think they're going to be kind of a force to reckon with.
Yeah, I do too. I think that they're a team that's built for the playoffs. You talk about teams built for the playoffs, not built for the playoffs, but I think the Wild are a team that's built for the playoffs. Uh, as of right now, they're sitting at third place in the Central Division. The Maple Leafs are third in the Atlantic Division. So this was a big victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs going up against a team that is really solid, a solid competition.
No, I definitely agree. I think the Leafs and them are both in the top 10 in the league, even after tonight's outing. So definitely some interesting kind of team dynamics when it comes to more, I guess, the high flying kind of scoring power that the Leafs have, accompanied with their sometimes exceptional, sometimes mediocre defensive style. I think Minnesota's as consistent as they get in terms of kind of their play style and whatnot.
Definitely. And someone who's generally been pretty consistent throughout their career is Toronto Maple Leafs captain John Tavares. But as of late, he struggled mightily. And a stat that pulled from your Twitter here is 12 games without a goal.
Yeah,
That's
it's been
uh,
rough for John.
that's really concerning. Need to get him back on track.
That's for sure. Yeah, he's yeah, like I said, I mentioned earlier, he was the empty netter against Detroit. So it's been a while here since we saw John Tavares kind of veering off the wing or get one in or find a tip or something, even off the seat of his pants kind of thing. It's going to take one of those dirty, gritty kind of garbage goals to kind of get him going. I think once he does get one or two, I think he will kind of get back into that for sure.
Yeah, if he could get one in off his backside, that would really help take the monkey off his back for sure, and potentially open up a opportunity for a goal scoring streak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's got to try and take the ball and run with it when the chances do start to kind of go in for him. And I mean, he's kind of plateaued a little bit. He's had a strong start to the season, but a little bit of a plateau as of obviously the last 10 to 15 games. I think he's just managed to grab I think maybe 5 or 6 assists. If I'm not, I think he got one tonight, so it might be up to 8. But yeah, so I mean, we definitely want to see. Um, our captain scoring some more for sure.
Yeah, big time. And I see some trade rumors going on in the comment section, so I guess we can address what happened to really open up these trade talks in Leafs Nation. So there were a couple of trades earlier this past week. Maple Leafs acquired Ryan DeZingle and Ilya Labushkin. Zingle was eventually claimed by the uh, San Jose
So
Sharks off of waivers, and then they also traded for Carter Hutton, who I don't see him making any impact on this Maple Leafs roster unless disaster strikes.
yeah, I think
Uh,
he was waived earlier that week, and then he got picked up for future consideration. So I don't know if that was kind of the tail end of Dzingel getting claimed off San Jose or whatever it worked out to. But yeah, I don't. I'm agreeing. I'm on you I'm on with you with that one. I don't think we're going to see too much of Carter Hutton in a
Yeah,
Leaf
no,
uniform.
no, because you have Joseph Wall, who's played some solid outings with this Maple
Yep,
Leafs team already this season. He's 23 years old. You also have Michael Hutchinson, who's been in and out of the organization for the past 4 years. So there has to be some trust there.
absolutely. I think you're spot on with that one.
But today, what happened is the Maple Leafs placed Jake Muzzin on long-term injured reserve. With that, they free up some cap space. They have over $5 million of cap space available to them at the present moment. So that gives us the opportunity to discuss how would you like to see the Toronto Maple Leafs improve this roster? Would you like to see them add up front or back on that blue line? Maybe a little bit of both.
I think a happy medium of both would probably suit best. But in terms of the assets they're willing to give up, the assets that several selling teams are going to be willing to acquire from them is going to play a factor for sure. So I don't necessarily think the Leafs are going to be able to have their cake and eat it too, in that sense, unless Dubas kind of threads the needle and finds a way. But I would say um, Sandin has had a successful season. Liljegren has made some big strides this year. Um, when Muzzin has been healthy, he's been a little bit up and down, so I guess that would be a negative on their blue line. Hole has also been in that same kind of conversation. Riley and Brody have been solid all year, so I think them bringing in Labushkin and the small sample size he's had in Toronto, I think he hasn't really. He's been exactly kind of what the scouting report was on him. He's been they actually mentioned in the broadcast tonight. He's been jumping up a little bit more in the rush more often than not than he was in Arizona, but he was playing solid minutes alongside Jacob Chitrin in the Coyotes organization. So I do think that has helped them in that sense to bolster their defensive end. Like we touched upon earlier, I do um, think that acquiring a top six left wing is going to be Dubas's priority in this upcoming trade deadline.
Yeah, and I'm really back and forth on this discussion. I really am because when I'm looking at the Maple Leafs blue line play, it's been really lackluster and it's been an eyesore for a majority of this season. Uh, Timothy Liljegren, he's taken big steps in his development, but I'm not sure that you want to have a pairing with him and Rasmus Sandin at any point in the playoffs. I think you need to improve on Justin Hall. Like
I would agree too.
I think that's something that is a must for this team. And if you could push him down to the bottom defensive pairing or just trade him, that would be your best case scenario. But I agree that you need to look to improve the top six left wing position on that second line. Uh, if you remember back to last year in the playoffs against Montreal Canadiens, the problem wasn't their defense; it was actually scoring. They couldn't score goals, and part of that, John Tavares was injured. But if you have an extra security, if you have more security, an extra insurance marker to put on that left wing position, I think that would definitely help them accumulate some goals, score some goals in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think maybe bringing in again, these have just been kind of floating around on my Twitter feed and stuff like that. I think maybe a guy like potentially like a Justin Braun could potentially be an option. Some guy with maybe a mediocre cap hit that you bring in to solidify that second pair right shot. You run Labushkin on the third pair and have your Liljegren as your seventh D alongside Dermott there. Dermott's obviously going to be in the pairings with Muzzin out though if he continues to be injured through when come playoff time. I think that's something that the Leafs could kind of look to venture out and doing, as well as potentially maybe seeing some sort of deal where the other team retains cap space, um, and then they can bring in some sort of a top six left winger to be able to kind of help out that offense a little bit, come down to the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, if those top four guys are getting locked up in the playoffs, we saw it last year with Montreal doing a fantastic job with the likes of Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt. Um, the rest of the team kind of tends to get deflated. So, I mean, obviously, this year's team is not the same as last year's team, but they kind of want to put themselves in the best position, I would think.
Definitely. And Frank Rusty Nails here mentions that Jake Muzzin might not be able to play at all this year. He says if he gets a third career concussion, could be career-ending. Never like to speculate, but we know how concussions work, kind of. They can be career-threatening for sure, and you never want to see a player go through that kind of thing. Health and safety is the most important thing of anything, really. That's priority number one. So yeah, Jake Muzzin is a big loss for this team. He hasn't been great this season. He's been up and down. Hasn't been very steady at all this season, but you'd like to get him back as soon as you can. But what's the rush? You don't rush him back. You let him sit out as long as he needs, and it frees up an opportunity to bring other players in.
Yeah, take advantage of the cap situation. Obviously, we've seen Tampa obviously do that and be successful with Kucherov. So I mean, um, I don't see why they wouldn't kind of take advantage of this opportunity to kind of keep Muslin on the shelf for the near future. Obviously, um, we're hoping his health obviously comes to fruition and comes back and he can get back into a Leafs uniform. But as of right now, it definitely gives him an advantage in the cap scheme to be able to kind of operate it a little bit easier than they have been with multiple recalls and sending down of Sandine and whatnot. So I hopefully that'll help that front.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel as if Kyle Dubas might actually prioritize the left wing position. He just acquired a defenseman in Ilya Labushkin, and say what you want about his impact on this team. It's another body that they added back there. So I feel as if they might actually prioritize the left wing position.
Yeah, I think with the amount of depth, call it depth or don't call it depth, what they do have. I mean, they have the 6 guys, plus they have easily another 3 that can step in no problem without kind of reaching out to the Marley squad, and bringing up the likes of like Brendan Manel and Alex Biega and whatnot. So I think that's why I would be pointing towards Dubas prioritizing that left wing. I definitely agree with you on that for sure, because that's going to be something that obviously was evident in last year's playoffs that it wasn't good enough for the Leafs, and I think that's going to be something that they're going to not want to see repeat.
Yeah, definitely. It would be frustrating if it was the same problems in the playoffs this year as it was last year. And for anybody that's watching that hasn't already, please make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell to be notified every time new content is being released on Maple Leafs Media. Also, make sure to check out Matt's Twitter account. You want to tell them the at. You might have it here. Let me see if
May or
I
may
can.
not. It's at Matt Cardadero, capital M, capital C. So yeah, just we're aspiring sports journalists, as Jake mentioned earlier. So we've been covering a lot from Olympic hockey to Olympic. I was doing some biathlon. Jake was covering some speed skating. So now we're kind of moving on to kind of getting back into the thick of the things with Toronto and the NHL as well. So yeah, that's my Twitter account there. Just trying to kind of give you guys some sports content and stuff. So give me a follow, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, Matt does a great job sending out tweets, covering a lot of sports, a wide variety of sports. Stuff's out there all the time. So make sure you give him a follow. Also, give me a follow at Varco Sports. I appreciate it. Um, Before we head off here, I want to share some news that was shared by Toronto Maple Leafs general manager Kyle Dubas regarding their 2020 first round pick, Rodon Amirov. So the statement reads, quote, I regret to inform our fans that Rodon Amirov has been diagnosed with a brain tumor. Rodon commenced the 2021-22 season with Salavat Ufa of the KHL, but suffered an injury to open the season. During the course of his recovery from his injury, he developed some new unrelated symptoms that required ongoing extensive investigations over the last few months. Rodon is currently undergoing treatment at the medical facility in Germany and will not return to play for the remainder of the season. Our medical staff has been involved throughout the process alongside UFA's and we are in direct contact with the facility on an ongoing basis to monitor his treatment and care. Rodon has the complete support of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, and we will continue to ensure he receives the best care possible throughout this process. Out of respect for Rodon and his family, the club will not have any further comment at this time. End quote. So some very scary news regarding Rodon Amirov. Definitely something that is that's just horrible for a 20-year-old trying to enter the National Hockey League, trying to get his career going. Something you hate to see.
Yeah, that's definitely something that it's not ideal for a 20-year-old kid to kind of get that news, obviously. So our prayers are out for Amirov, and I think the Leafs reached out to him as well, obviously via FaceTime and whatnot, to obviously give him their best wishes. They're pulling for him. He's, I think John Tavares mentioned that he's really kind of pulling for Amirov as well. And Amirov is been skating. I think they mentioned 3 times a week, so he's undergoing treatment and trying to keep his fitness levels up. Obviously, um, yeah, it's going to be a long road for him. Um, so that's something that I mean. I've actually had a family member that's experienced that specific disease as well. So I think it's going to be. I know from experience, obviously, that it's not going to be easy for him and his family, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So as long as he keeps his spirits up and keeps up with his treatments, he'll be back on the ice in no time. So our prayers go out to him for sure.
Yeah, definitely prayers out to Rodon Amirov, and can't wait to see him back out there on the ice, hopefully as soon as possible. And again, if you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time new content's being released on Maple Leafs Media. Give Matt a follow on Twitter. I've shared his Twitter page here a couple times. You can scroll back and find his at tag. Same as Varco Sports. Give us a follow. Matt, do you have any closing words for our viewers here on Maple Leafs Media?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit interesting to see the kind of the goaltending tandem, how that tends to play out over the next couple of weeks here. We're coming into trade deadline very soon. So I think a lot of our speculation, we potentially might have some answers. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out for. Me and Jake will try and keep you updated on our Twitter feeds. So hopefully that's something that we can kind of look forward to. Obviously, Leafs in Detroit on Saturday night. So hopefully Mrazek can kind of take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for doing this, Matt. Thank you for joining me on the show tonight. And
Always a pleasure.
everyone viewing, thank you for watching. Until next time, uh, thank you.